The Chicago Bulls lose their composure and lose a game to the Milwaukee Bucks at home in Chicago. We're talking a little bit about that game. Let's go talk about how the Bulls have really fared since the All-Star break and looking at the week ahead. We're going to do all that plus some mailbag right after this.
You are now tuned in to Chicago Bulls Central, your number one place for all Chicago Bulls news and content.
What's going on, Bulls fans? Welcome to another episode of Chicago Bulls Central, your number one spot for everything Chicago Bulls related. I'm the host, Terry Hayes, but more importantly, you guys can follow the channel at Bulls Central Pod on every social media platform we happen to be on. With that being said, let's go ahead and get into this content for today. And so, listen, the Chicago Bulls lost 113-97 to the Milwaukee Bucks on their home court yesterday, and they lost a lot of things in this game. Their sense was a little bit of it. We'll talk about that here in a second. But the positives, right? Coby White having probably his best game in probably the last 5 games, definitely probably since the All-Star break. 7 from 14 from the field. He went 6 of 6 from the free throw line, 3 rebounds, 2 assists, 22 points from him. Really solid game from him as far as scoring, shooting the ball over 50%, only 2 of 5 from three-point range. But maybe this is a sign of Coby White kind of working himself back into that rhythm that we've become accustomed to seeing Coby White play in. Vučević had 17 points, 9 rebounds, 3 assists. He actually got ejected in the game. We're going to talk a little bit about that. Ayo Dosunmu with another solid performance as well. 15 points, going 6 of 12 from the field, 5 rebounds, 6 assists in that game. Again, solid performance from him. DeMar DeRozan had one of his worst games, though. 5 of 13 from the field, 4 rebounds, 9 assists, 1 block. Scoring-wise, it was bad. He did some other things which you definitely want to like, but DeMar never really quite got going the way that he did. He didn't get to the free throw line at the frequency that he was used to either, which plays into some of that officiating, which we'll talk about here in a second. He only got to the free throw line 2 times in this game. And then the bench, Andre Drummond, of course, leading the way off the bench with 9 points, 10 rebounds off the bench, 1 steal, 1 block as well. We saw more of that Drummond and Vooch lineup, which we got a voicemail on, so we'll talk about that. Team, who had a really good game, his first game out, getting minutes for the Chicago Bulls. 2 of 7 from the field today, 6 points, 4 rebounds, 1 assist in this game. He had 2 personal fouls. Again, listen, Team, the fact that, he had a really good game, and I don't want to overshadow the game that he had, his first game, but this game was kind of, he's a role player, and that's cool. He's still figuring out his way. Julian Phillips also with 13 points off the bench for the Bulls today, didn't score a single bucket, had 2 rebounds, 2 assists, 1 steal from Julian Phillips. Dalen Terry only plays 2 minutes. Javon Carter only plays 4 minutes. We did see a lot of Terry Taylor in this game for 12 minutes, 4 points, 3 rebounds from him. But overall, the Bulls just didn't have it going this game. And it was evident early. And, while, like I said, we're going to talk about officiating, I can't blame it entirely on officiating. It did have its place in this game. Make no mistake about it. Officiating affected this game for the Chicago Bulls. But they just, defensively, we came out flat early. Like, Dame hit 2 long threes early in the game, and that kind of set the tone as far as the Bulls and the 3-point shooting. Overall, they didn't even shoot the ball overall in the game overly well. 15 of 46 from the 3-point range for 32%. The Bulls went 11 of 27. So the discrepancy from the 3-point line wasn't as huge as what it would say. We did get out-rebounded 49 to 44 in this game as well. Points off turnovers 12 to 4 in favor of the Milwaukee Bucks. Fast break points 8 to 4 in favor of the Milwaukee Bucks. The Bulls did have more second chance points. We did have more points in the paint in this game. We had 44 to their 40, but the Bulls didn't create enough separation in anything. And this definitely felt like one of those games where we were missing Terry Taylor. No, we were missing Torrey Craig, and we were definitely missing Patrick Williams and some of that size out there. We were missing that in this game. And I think you add both of those players, even one of those players, if they have a really solid game defensively, I do think that it helps this Bulls team stay in this game a little bit longer. Alex Caruso did everything that he could on Giannis Antetokounmpo. He just, at some point, the size is just going to catch up to you. Billy Donovan did try to go to that double big lineup to try to change the mix up a little bit on the floor for the Bulls, and it really just didn't get very much. Now, again, I said we were going to talk about officiating, which I do think added to the Bulls' frustration, especially with the officials really allowing kind of Bobby Portis to just play that tough defense, that physical defense on Nikola Vučević in the post. And we know that, listen, that Vooch just does not usually react to. There are some games, absolutely, where Vooch reacts to that really well, and he kind of plays tough through that, and he did that, especially in the first half of this game. I think Vooch was some of his most physical and stayed in the paint primarily and really played well for the Bulls, but it all came crashing down, right? And like I said, that physical play that the refs were allowing Bobby Portis to play, frustrated Nikola Vučević, and then he ended up committing a hard foul on the other end of the ball on A.J. Green, which got him ejected. And Vuč actually talked about his frustration here.
Do you think the ejection was warranted, and what you look like you're frustrated with the no call on the other end?
Yeah, just the frustration. No, not just that no call, just build up. Us having a little bit of a rough game. Not playing as well, and just in the moment, just lost my cool a little too much. I didn't see the play. I don't know. Obviously, if it was deserved or not, but definitely not a foul. I should have made, and it could have been dangerous plays. Lucky nothing happened to A.J. Green, so just glad that worked out. But obviously, I just needed to, hold my cool a little better. So it happened. Move on.
And I love a team that plays with some edge. Like, don't take it quietly, right? Don't just sit there and allow a team to get physical with you and you not uncover edge, but you have to be controlled even in getting that edge. I like not backing down. Don't get me wrong. But you cannot allow the officiating and that tough thing to make you lose your composure. When you do lose your composure, again, the refs are going to keep calling shit against you when they do, because they can tell you're getting frantic. And the Bulls definitely were affected by that at parts in this game. And, Billy Donovan even mentioned it. Billy Donovan saying that he saw it going this way early in the game, and he said this.
I do think that, we have to, look at how we can respond in those situations better, how we can control the emotional level better. I think that, for both teams in a large respect, not everybody got every call that they wanted. I would just say this, I'm not going to say what I said, but I made some comments to the officials early in the game about where this was going. And I'll just leave it at that.
And so, again, I not to excuse the officials, and I did say it, I think over on an episode of NBA Central, the NBA has to do something about bad and unfair officiating because it does dictate games. But like I said, even in fairness, being a Bulls fan, I can't put it all on the officiating. Yes, it had a big role in this. Yes, it absolutely affected the Chicago Bulls. And yes, it absolutely created a disadvantage. But I do think, the Bulls could have been closer in this had they executed more defensively. The size definitely played a part in the Bulls. But listen, make no mistake about it. The officiating was tilted towards the Milwaukee Bucks in this game, absolutely. Now, they do have stars on that team as well. They are also one of the best teams in the league, so maybe that plays a part also. But it does create an unfair advantage. And for his credit, DeMar DeRozan actually called out the officiating in his way after the game, where he said this.
As far as officiating, just call it fair. I think that's more so where the frustration come from. When we come down, feel like we getting hit, and they come down, and we barely touching them, but they getting a call. That kind of steams over. Just the fairness of the calls, I kind of think was the main focal of our frustration more so than anything. It just kept feeling like, when we was trying to get a call or get downhill, it felt like a couple drives. Kobe was getting fouled, didn't call it. They have somebody else come down and do the same type of, move, drive and get downhill, and they get the whistle. Just that point of it it becomes frustrating when it continuously happens throughout the game. We can't get a call. And just find a rhythm from that standpoint of trying to be aggressive. It seemed like it was more so in their favor to be aggressive, playing us defensively, and we couldn't do the same. Not necessarily even us getting the calls, just make it a fair thing. Let us be physical on the other end as well, too.
So that all just led to a lot of the frustrations, and I'm sure a lot of the team felt it, and, it really was disheartening for that team to play with some edge and to just not feel like you're getting the calls that the other team is getting. Like, if you're going to let a team play physical, which I'm not against allowing teams to get physical, right? Allow both teams to do it. Don't create an unfair disadvantage by your officiating by just allowing the one team to get physical. Now, again, that's not to say that that was a flagrant by Vuč. I'm sorry, it was. He deserved to be ejected in that game, but I think if it was called a little bit more towards, like what Billy said, and even DeMar, if it was called a little bit more fairly early, maybe you wouldn't have that balance. So, but the Bulls have to find a way to, get punched in the face and respond better, right? And that's the thing, is that this Bulls team, when things get physical, when things gets down, one of the things we've been able to consistently say as a knock on this team for years now is that we don't have, again, like I always say, that identity. We don't have that identity as a team, and it really does impact this team's ability to come out with certain stuff. So definitely disheartening, man. The Bulls, though, now are 2-3 since the All-Star break, with wins over the Pelicans and the Cavs, losses to the Celtics, the Pistons, and the Milwaukee Bucks now. And, had that Detroit Pistons game gone in the Bulls' way, the Bulls would be 3-2 since the All-Star break, facing all playoff teams except the Detroit Pistons, which would be one of the teams we lost to. The Bulls right now have a 1.5 game advantage over the Atlanta Hawks. And next week, our combined opponent win percentage, because I know the strength of schedule actually points to the Bulls' schedule not being that hard, which how they calculate that is one thing. Next week, our opponents have a combined win percentage of 55%. As a matter of fact, the only team that we play next week that has a win percentage below 50% is the Utah Jazz, which is still a 45%, a 23-33 team, a team that we know matches up really well against us. The Bulls aren't out of it yet. That 1.5 game lead over the Atlanta Hawks doesn't sound like much, but again, when you pair in the fact that we got almost a 5 game lead over the Brooklyn Nets, which sit at the next 11 spot right outside that play-in, the Bulls are still on pace to make the play-in tournament. Take from that what you will, right? I do think, if you guys were on the pregame and halftime hangout yesterday, I have my thought process on what I would like to see the Bulls kind of do or how this season ends for the Bulls. But ultimately, it just comes down to if you're going to fight, if you're going to try to be this competitive team. The Bulls are doing that in a little bit of way. Yeah, 2-3 since the All-Star break. You would want to see that. Like I said, that Pistons game definitely should have went the Bulls' way. But next week, we don't have any easy opponents at all. And matter of fact, I'll say this. The Bulls can't overlook anybody for the rest of the season. So if the Bulls can come out of next week's games as well, playing solidly, right, and having a solid record, I'm not going to say we got 4 games on the docket next week. If they can go 500, that would bode well for the Bulls. Sacramento, Utah, tough matchups for the Bulls. Golden State have killed us every single time we played them, basically. And then the Clippers are rocking and rolling right now. So we'll see how the Bulls perform on this, man. They get a couple of days off now. They're off over the weekend. We go to San Antonio Monday. We'll see how the Bulls perform in that. And then we get a day off Wednesday, and then we have a back-to-back. I'm going to get a day off Tuesday, and we have a back-to-back Wednesday and Thursday, and then another day off before we face the Clippers on Saturday. So going to be really interesting to see how the Bulls fare over this next week and how it impacts their playing chances. But it's Saturday, so that means it's Mailbag Day here around Bulls Central. Let's go ahead and get into these voicemails. This one's from Shay.
What's up, Hayes? This is Shay. Look, I got to give you some credit because you said this a long time ago, and I'm finally realizing it after seeing Spencer Dinwiddie with the Lakers. You said if a player has been off of a team for a long period of time, or is off a team, or a team really lets him go, or something like the Detroit Pistons waved Kelly Hayes, it's probably a reason. And the Toronto Raptors really waived Spencer Dinwiddie for a reason. Now, look, I'm not saying that all buyout players are like that, but I mean, after saying he's with, and I know what you're thinking, what does this have to do with the Chicago Bulls? But I was wanting some buyout candidates, and Lawson was wanting some buyout candidates, and honestly, it's probably the reason why they haven't been picked up, like guys like Joe Harris and Marcus Morris. Marcus Morris is still on Spurs, but probably the reason why they haven't been picked up, and Spencer Dinwiddie is probably showing why they shouldn't be. Anyway, tell me what you think. Peace.
Great point there, Shane. And I think that's a very astute point, right? Is that, yes, the players that are usually the best in the buyout market go early, right? And that's not to say you can't find some role players that can definitely help. But even when we got Pat Bev, we knew pretty shortly after Pat Bev was bought out that Pat Bev was coming here, right? I think there's some thought of, could it be Russell Westbrook? But usually when players are bought out and then they sit for a while, those are players that usually aren't going to help your team a whole hell of a lot, or they have flaws. And that's why, even with Joe Harris, right, once the other targets, the Danilo Gallinari's and other players kind of went elsewhere, I think bringing up Ernolat Batum was the best choice for the Chicago Bulls because, listen, this is a guy who is part of your future. Go ahead and give him that opportunity, see what he looks like on the rest of the season. At that point, we had 27 games left. We got 22 now left, I believe. So we see how that works for the Chicago Bulls and how it's going to help the Bulls and help his development heading into next season, where he may have a bigger role to start off next season. So that's a great point there, Shay. And listen, it is what it is. I know a lot of Bulls fans were hoping that a buyout were going to come and save it in veterans and the Killian Hayes and Poku and things like that. But the Bulls bet on a player that was in their system, and they're giving him an opportunity. And I won. As long as Billy Donovan is going to continue playing him, I, for one, can't knock that too much. So great points on that, Shay. Let's go ahead and get into the next voicemail. This one's from Big O.
What's going on? Hey, it's Big O, man. Calling in, man. Really want to chime in on the Vučević Drummond double big lineup. I know I hear you and Pat pretty much stance on it. I just, and I'm saying this not advocating for or against the double big lineup. To me personally, I think, Billy Donovan, he really loves playing small ball anyway. So I really think he only really going to it because the injuries or whatever. But I just wanted to say that if it is something Billy wants to do, to change his philosophy or his style of play, I would say that it'll take more than a few games for him to see if it's going to actually work. I think the Minnesota Timberwolves is a great example of that. That team, Rudy and Cat did not play well, very much together at all last season. And now look at them this year. They thrived. You know what I mean? So when I look at Vučević, when I look at Drummond is an okay passer. Vučević is a very good passer. That tells me that it could work. But the thing is that they have to get the reps. I mean, just like how we preach patience with growth and development with players and lineup and, AK famous theme is continuity. It goes the same with Vučević and Drummond having them on the floor. I think you have to play them over at least 1,800 minutes together for you to really, see if it's going to work or not. You know what I mean? Or get a good data on it. I don't think they played enough together for us to say that it wouldn't work. I just think like any other, lineup that you put out there, they need chemistry together. They need to know where to be. Like I was talking about earlier, what Pat was saying. Who go out the screen if Jared Allen and Mobley setting screens for each other? How do we play that? All those things come with reps. They ain't, of course, they're not going to know it the first time they do it. They have to practice it, and then they have to go live with it with actually playing in games. So I just think it's too early to say that it's not going to work. The data shows that it's not working or not working much. But like I said before, the Minnesota Timberwolves is a great example of that. They had a full year under their belt playing together, and now look at them. You know what I mean? So I would just say don't throw it away too soon. But if Billy Donovan want to go that direction, he can't just give up on it right away. He has to have them work on it, and he has to work on it with them as well to put that philosophy in.
All right, the Vučević and Drum double lineup. Here's what I'll say, right? We've seen now over 10, 11 games of them playing double-digit minutes together. Now, Big O, you said they need to play at least 1,000 minutes together. Keep in mind, 1,000 minutes basically is half a season. So I get what you're saying in that, but I do think that the Timberwolves are a very different team. Yes, that double big lineup that they have is playing much better this season than what they did last season, but I also think that points towards the players that are around those players, right? Drum and Vučević can work, right? I think that, they have their limitations. Yes, we've had a net negative, overall with them on the court. It just has not been positive, but I think who you have on the court with them is important enough, and we don't have, I think, the three perfect players around them. Like, for example, if it was Kobe and Zach out there with those two big players, both players that can stretch the floor if they're both shooting the ball well, and another three or stretch that can do that as well. If you had a lot of three-point shooting to create that spacing a little bit more, I think that does work. But the fact that they're also playing a lot of their minutes with DeMar out there, who also operates from the mid-range to the low post, I think it just creates a scenario, right? So we don't have the personnel right now, and I think that's part of it too. While I talk about that double big lineup and how it has not been effective for the Bulls outside of getting more rebounds for sure, like we do get more rebounds, but outside of that, it really hasn't been this positive for the Bulls. And so, I think that comes down to the other personnel. Can you make it work? Yeah, I think that you can make it work, but you got to have the right personnel. The other three players are the glue that's going to keep that potentially together. And right now, with how this Bulls team is playing and the players that we have on this roster, I don't think that we have it to make it work. And that's why it has to be a specialty lineup you only use in certain matchups, in my opinion. But great voicemail there from Big O. Let's get into this next voicemail. This one's from my brother Corn.
Hey, what's good, King? It's Corn, man. Let me get straight into it, man, because I got a lot to explain on this one. All right, man. This Piston game, and I'm just gonna go all around with this one. I'm gonna pivot a little bit too. This Pistons game is the reason why we should have traded the assets that I asked for, the reason why we should have fired Billy right after this game, and the reason why we should have just made moves. And fuck all that. We should have fired Acme after this shit too. Now, just to pivot. Y'all know I'm a Raiders fan, okay? I'm a Raiders fan. And last year, we had the worst coach probably in history of Josh McDaniels. Now, week 7, okay? Week 7, we go in there, we playing against a 1-5 team with a backup quarterback. And guess what happened? We lost 30-12. You know who that team was? Y'all thinking Tyson Badgett and the Chicago Bears? Absolutely right. Now, the reason why I'm speaking on this, right after this fucking game, what happened? That's why I bless y'all. What happened? We went in there the next day, had a team meeting, told this man, spoke our motherfucking mind, had this man, couldn't even say he was frozen because all these grown men, Devontae, the Masters, Crosby's, all of them, they stood up and said, you know what, enough is enough, man. You're terrible. Now, I'm going to pivot back when it comes to Billy. We had one player that wanted Billy to go, but you just said it right now. Giannis just got through kicking off the Bucks coach. Zach was trying to do the same thing. And instead of rolling with Zach, we said trade him, and we rolling with here. Instead of other players like what my players did to get the fuck Josh McDaniels up out of here, thanks to y'all, blessings to y'all, that was a blessing in disguise. Losing to y'all, it's not going to happen to Billy D because you got DeMar and all these guys that's going to hold him down. Zach was the one, and they should have rolled with Zach. They should have rolled with Zach. I feel like this was a big, big mistake. And I feel like this loss should be the pivot of us really firing. Because like I said, after that game, after we lost, GM gone, Dave Ziegler out the door. Josh McDaniels out the door. AP, now look at us. Hey, man, blessings, Hayes, man. I just had to go on a little rant, and this is why we in police purgatory. Because of this shit. Should have rolled with Zach, man.
All right, so the difference between Giannis and Zach not liking their coach is Giannis is a generational player. He's a player that when you build a team around him, you know that at the bare minimum, you're going to have a team that can go on playoff runs. And I'm not to say that listen, Billy is not a great coach at all. But we rolled with Zach, per your estimation, when we built the team around his flaws, and it still was a team that only could have a cap. Like, yes, I get it that you say that we should have bet on Zach, but the thing is, we've seen Zach. And not to Zach's fault, he's not a number one. We've seen that. He was miscast due to whatever happened. The Bulls not drafting well and getting players that were better than him or whatever else. He's not a number one. So that kind of plays into as well why the team decided to, and keep in mind, Zach asked for a trade. It's not like Zach went there and said, hey, listen, I just don't want Billy here. Let's get Billy up out of here. He asked for a trade for his own reasons, right? That's whatever. It is what it is. But Zach isn't the caliber of player that Giannis is, so you're going to get a different response when it comes to him not liking a coach, right? And for whatever it is, this front office, this ownership group has tied themselves to Billy Donovan. So, ultimately, I do think that I would love to see Zach find a way to stay here if he's going to play well and play in and fit in with what's going to happen. But it seems like that has kind of come and gone, and that's not going to be the case here anymore. And so, like I said, we rolled with Zach when we built the team around his flaws, and I think the thing that was evident in it is Zach didn't excel to that level of being a clear-cut number one to where it elevated the team, and that's kind of at the fault of the front office as well. So, that definitely plays a part. So, and then also the limitations of the roster overall. Like, Billy isn't a great coach, make no mistake about it. But when you put out a roster and give him a roster that has these huge flaws that then you have not corrected for years, that plays a part into it as well. So ultimately, would I like to see a new coach come in here? Yeah, absolutely. That's just what I'd like to see, but it doesn't appear that that's going to happen, right? All right, let's get into the next voicemail. This one's from Rob.
Hey, what it do is Big Rob from the West Side. Many blessings to you. Just wanted to let you know, man, hey, 1,000 episodes of doing this is a many great blessings to you. I know you're going to get a lot of praise from a lot of us, but we respect, what you've done, your hard work, your dedication to not just the channel, but just as a sports fan in general, especially for the Bulls. And, many hats off to you, my brother. Many more episodes along the way will be nothing but just great energy and great information. So just for me personally, I want to say thank you to you because, again, I caught you on probably like midway last season and been riding with you, watching your show every day. And hey, man, great material as always. Two quick questions because I don't want to take up too much of your time is when you look at how the younger players are playing now, how do you feel about the players who are probably still in the G League or into a contract? Do you see them potentially playing this season or do you see them probably getting an opportunity next season? And then lastly, with the draft coming up, if you had to make a decision on what is the team need, what would you suggest? Would it be a two-guard? Would it be another big man? What will be your opinion? And who are you looking at right now in college that you could say can fit the Bulls system if they still have Billy Donovan? Again, many blessings to you. God bless you, brother. Peace.
First of all, thank you. The 1,000 episodes. Love to be able to accomplish that and get to that. That meant a lot to me to be able to accomplish it. I think I was at maybe about 650 episodes in when I was like, hey, I wonder if I can make it to 1,000 straight. I wonder if I can make it to 1,000 straight days. And luckily I was able to accomplish it, man. But to get to your questions, I don't see any of the other two-way contract players getting the opportunity. That's Funk, Adama Sanogo, Henry Drell. I don't really see them playing too much for the Chicago Bulls. Now, I do think young players in Julian, Ernalot Batim, Dalen Terry, I do think that they are going to continue to get some burn here, probably inconsistently for some of those guys, but you're going to see them play more over the back half of the season. I think that's the right thing to do. Now, as far as college players I'm looking at right now, I haven't started my deep dive. You'll get that in the offseason, but Terrence Shannon Jr. is definitely one as a young wing that I would love to see next to Kobe White. Kyle Filipowski, as well as a big that I would love to see in this that you can draft. He can protect the rim some. He can score a little bit. He's a solid passer. I would love to see him come in here maybe as the big of the future. And then you got Tijane Saloon, power forward from France. This is a guy with huge upside in this draft. He's only 18 years old right now. He'll be 19 next season. He's 6'9", 207 pounds. We know that AK is tapped into over in Europe. And he has that almost 7'1" wingspan and a vertical of almost 34 inches. This is a guy that could be that prototypical new modern style power forward that we just don't have on this roster. So again, those are kind of the three players that I'm looking at right now. So I think the Bulls can go a lot of different ways. They can go a wing that can pair with Kobe White. They may think they already have that in Io. They can go center. There's not a lot of quality centers in this draft. There are some in the second round I wouldn't mind the Bulls taking a look at. But we don't have second round picks. Of course, Sarr, who's projected to be towards the top of that draft. I would love if the Bulls can get Sarr, but it seems like our draft pick is going to be outside of that. So, it really depends on where the Bulls are looking at. But there are a lot of options for it. But I'll be covering that in detail in the offseason. I probably in the Bulls Focus channel that does the most deep dive coverage in the draft. So make sure you guys stay tuned in for that, Rob. Thank you. Now let's get into the last voicemail. This one is from Todd.
Hey, what's up, man? It's Todd again. Calling after that double overtime win over the Cleveland Cavaliers, man. Checking in on you. Appreciate it. Looking forward to that 1,000th day. We riding with you, brother. But wanted to talk about not only the last night's game, but the game before. These two games are emblematic of a young team. We are a young team. I heard you and Pat on Locked On. I know this isn't Locked On, but I'm going to talk about it. Pat was mad about, the fact that we lost to the Pistons. Why? We're a young team. I got a kid that's, a 6-year-old kid. He does things one day, learns the next, moves on. We got to learn to look at this team from the eyes of a young team. I know we got DeMar and Vučević and AC and Vets, but this is a young team now. It's led by Kobe, Io. Now we're seeing the emergence of our really young guys and Dalen and Batim and Julian and hopefully soon Adama and so forth. But this is a young team and we got to start looking at through that mindset. But I also want to talk about mindset in that we got a real mental issue on this team, and it starts with our leadership, meaning our coach, our general manager and president of basketball operations, and even our ownership. Once they get locked into one thing, that's all they can do. And that is so fucking frustrating. That's the reason we haven't seen Batim up until last night. Because bubblegum Bubblegum Billy stays having one thing on his mind, and that has to work. That's Javon Carter. That is Terry Taylor, so forth, right? But not playing our young guns that could potentially bring something new. Same with AK. If it's not what I did, meaning Pat Williams or whatever, I cannot change my mentality at all. And that's what's killing us. That's at the heart of what's killing us. So I guess, I don't know if I have a question or not. Do you concur maybe? Do you think that's our issue? Because I don't think it's really our players at all. I think we line up right along. If we had a young big, I think we'd be right in there with at least Indiana, but the fact is, I think that our leadership is so stuck in their damn ways that we can't ever make a move to get off anything. And that's proof positive by them not making a move during the trade deadline. So, but I'm not going to talk about that because here we are. We got something good going, and I hope we see more Batum now, and I hope we see more Julian now. And even Dalen, I think, is doing what he's supposed to do. And they're going to.
Now, I get what you're getting at, Todd. Now, we are the 15th oldest team in the league, which means that we're right in the middle of the pack. We're not that young. And so I personally don't give this team the excuses of young teams because the players that are a big part of our rotation are all vets, right? Yeah, we do have young players that are developing and growing, but you don't get that just that typical blanket statement that I would give a younger team that was not led by veterans. We got DeMar, we got Vučević. Right, we got Alice Cruz. So these are all guys who've been and gone on deep playoff runs. Andre Drummond added to that. These are players that are part of the rotation, even though he shouldn't be. Javon Carter as well, right? So that's big parts of the rotation that you can't have those type of lapses against the Detroit Pistons. You just can't have that young team or not. To me, you have your opinion. I'm not trying to say that you're wrong for how you feel. I'm just giving what I feel on it. So I don't give them the same excuses that I would give a truly young team that's finding their way, right? Now, as far as Billy Donovan, listen, he's been playing the young players more since the All-Star break. Let's hope that continues. But I agree with you, right? This front office reluctance to move off players that they have brought into this team has absolutely held this team back. That's just reality. And hopefully they're starting to recognize some of that faultiness by bringing up a player like Erno Lott, whereas last 2 seasons they brought in veterans at the buyout, right? So hopefully they're starting to recognize that. And I think that that's how you have that sustained success is by growing and developing your young pieces. And hopefully Billy Donovan and this front office who aren't going anywhere all learn that and start doing that a little bit more consistently. But great voicemail there from Todd. That's my time for today, guys. Thank you guys so much for supporting the channel through 1,001 days now. I appreciate you guys so much. Make sure you guys are following the show at Bull Central Pod. You can send us any feedback, questions, comments, concerns, bullcentralpod@gmail.com. Lastly, if you want to leave a text message and our voicemail, the number to do so, 773-270-2799. We are the #1 spot for everything Chicago Bulls related, thanks to you guys. And like I like to end every episode on, go Bulls. Love you guys. See red if you can, y'all. Peace.
This has been a presentation of the Break Media.